Hey guys and gals, how's it going? Welcome back to Esports Talk. I hope you're all having a great week so far. And you know, I remember back at the beginning of Valorant's lifespan, a lot of people were saying that it would at least be probably a decently successful esport, especially given the type of game that it is and the type of viewership that it draws in, and also just the fact that it's kind of stealing pros from other esports titles, obviously namely CS, and then you've got that with Overwatch as well, Sinatra being a huge one. And yeah, so right off the bat, we kind of knew that it would at least be a decently successful esports title. But there was always the debate that raged on, right? Will this game be bigger than CSGO, or will it possibly even kill CSGO? And I think a lot of us also kind of right off the bat thought, probably not. It probably won't kill CSGO. It might make a dent in it somehow, considering it is kind of stealing players from that scene. But as it stood at the time, it looked like CSGO wasn't really going to be going anywhere because it was still the top FPS esport, and Valorant would kind of just coexist along with it. But with First Strike coming soon, obviously Valorant's first officially Riot Run and backed Valorant tournament, and you know, as the Valorant esports scene progresses and as time goes on, this time it is Shroud saying that Valorant could very well possibly be the next top FPS esport.
Solid in Valorant right now, but we just
feel
have
like aggressive.
We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're not going to be able to until LAN.
Yeah,
actually have like a good idea.
It'll be a while still. Dude, Valorant, like, Valorant's just gonna hit, and it's gonna hit hard.
Yeah, once LAN starts pumping out, dude, it's gonna grow, it's gonna explode.
Right, it has the perfect recipe right now, right? It's just like, CS numbers are dipping, but to be fair, CS strives on LAN, right? So that's why they're dipping. Obviously, once LAN comes back, it'll be a little different, but still, if Valorant nails the timing of coming to LAN and like tournaments are popping off, it's gonna blow the fuck up even more than it already has.
I definitely think, no doubt about it, it's gonna take the #1 FPS spot, like for esports.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I can't see it not like at all. Yeah.
So of course, with COVID being a thing, that really impacted CSGO and its viewership, as Shroud points out, and as he also says, CS strives on LAN. It is an esport that has always been more so focused and centered around its LAN events. So until that time comes to where, you know, things are back to normal, or, you know, LAN, we can actually return back to LAN events, yeah, things are going to be a bit different, and CSGO is definitely going to be impacted by that in one way or another. But in terms of Valorant, we haven't even seen any LAN events yet, because obviously the inception of its esports scene started during COVID, so it's been purely online events, meaning that we haven't really gotten to see players at their peak potential, or even teams at their peak potential, and we haven't seen the hype that comes along with LAN events, obviously the crowd, you know, and all the actual stage pressure that you get up there. We haven't gotten to see that yet. Plus, you know, when it comes to like actual regional events and stuff like that, you know, other regions competing against each other, we haven't gotten that. So Valorant is definitely, you know, still in its infancy, as many have said, but we've only got room to grow, is what I'm trying to say. You know, it's got a lot of space to grow, and I think that for that reason, you know, Shroud is saying that if LAN hits at the right time, at, you know, the perfect timing, this esport could absolutely blow up and possibly, you know, become the #1 and even pass CSGO up. And now with the 100 Thieves, obviously a big name org leaving CSGO, and then with teams like Complexity being screwed by COVID and having to make the choice to stay in Europe to compete from there, which we did talk about recently with their player Obo returning to America, it creates a tougher environment for the esport in general, but also for the players trying to compete in these esports. You know, being away from family for a long time is difficult. I'm sure that some of you guys could agree with that, and I personally can attest to that. You've got Tarek saying that NACS is dead. You've got the coaching bug scandal, and of course, just the fact that they're playing online as opposed to LAN. I'm sure a lot of pros much prefer LAN because, yeah, some of them are getting upwards of like 60 ping and above, which, if you guys are aware, I'm sure many of you are. Playing on 60 ping as opposed to 0 on LAN is a massive difference, and it stops players and teams from being able to compete at their full potential, you know, and this is absolutely impacting CSGO, its viewership, and its players. But that's only us comparing Valorant to CSGO, because obviously there's other FPS titles on the market. You know, take Overwatch, for example, where you've got teams dropping rosters left and right. The London Spitfire being one of those that we talked about recently, the Titans, the Dallas Fuel, tons of people leaving the scene as Overwatch's viewership is dipping and is continuing to dip. Then recently you've got Seagull coming out and saying that Overwatch needs a players association, and with the rumors of Overwatch League's competitive season starting way over in April, I don't know how much Overwatch players actually share an interest in Valorant, but with the problems that it's currently having, it is totally possible that we could see some of that viewer base and that player base actually transfer over to Valorant kind of similar like what we saw to, you know, Sinatra switching over to Valorant. Or we can even talk about Call of Duty, obviously one of the other big giants in the FPS esports scene, with its switch back to 4v4 for next season, which Jake did have a pretty good video and a lot of other good talking points in that video on that subject. So yeah, that means that teams will be dropping players because, you know, they don't need as many, or they will be benching players. And coming into next CDL season, it's looking pretty likely that there's still only going to be 12 teams. So that just means that you now have straight up less players than you did before, which I would say probably impacts the viewership in one way or another. And I'm not trying to say that, you know, Call of Duty is going to be struggling or anything. However, I'm just looking at these and saying, yeah, it's probably going to make some sort of difference, especially when you've got some COD pros, you know, a handful of them actually heading back over to Halo. Obviously, you know, Frosty being one of the biggest names for that. So yeah, it is definitely going to have an impact, and it is definitely going to help Valorant, I guess, in terms of, you know, becoming the next #1 FPS esport. And then there's Rainbow Six, another FPS esport that's being played entirely online at the moment, which if you guys have caught up with it, recently it was Team Empire trying to play their game against Team Vitality, which Team Empire could not even connect to that game. So it kind of sucks, obviously, because it's not their fault and it's completely, you know, out of their reach of what they could do. But also because it's COVID, you know, they're playing online. This wouldn't have happened in the first place if it was on LAN. But then it also sucks because you're kind of splitting the player base and the fan base, because some people are saying, oh, you know, give them a reschedule, let them play in another day. And then the other half is saying rules are rules, make it count as a forfeit, let Team Vitality have the win for free. And then, of course, you've got the LG situation, you know, the org situation with their players and money and all that good stuff, which we did talk about recently. Then you've got Aces and Corey over from Rogue, you know, two people that are were temporarily suspended from EU play because of what looked like match fixing. And, you know, I'm not trying to say that these esports are dead or anything like that, or that they're dying. However, I'm just saying that they have their issues, and every game has their fair share of issues, and a lot of it is because of COVID currently, and even then, you know, there's still plenty of other things that are impacting these games. And I'm not trying to say that Valorant is like a perfect esport or anything like that, and I don't think that that's what Shroud is trying to say either, because yeah, this game still has plenty of its own issues, but when its esports scene is starting the way that it is, as in, you know, online only, and it's been online since its inception, and obviously, you know, it started during COVID, I think that it was less impacted by COVID because it started during COVID than other esports were. And Shroud, you know, puts it the right way where he says, yeah, you know, once LAN events can actually come back, and once all those events and all those good things come back, once COVID is done, yeah, Valorant's popularity could very well shoot up and maybe just pass up CSGO and become the #1 FPS esport. But I want to ask you guys, do you agree with him? Do you think that, you know, Valorant could possibly be the next one? Or do you think that, you know, despite even having what Shroud calls the perfect recipe, CSGO will still be the FPS king? So let me know what you guys think down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very shortly in the next ones. Take it easy. Be safe. Bye-bye.